All right, we are live. I just discovered one of the drawings from last night, the hairy knee. That was a lot of fun playing the
But the
Pictionary
word
game.
was knee.
The word
wasn't
was
hairy
knee,
knee.
but I made it hairy.
Hairy knee. That sounds like a Chinese name, hairy knee.
That is a Chinese name.
It is.
That's hilarious.
And I. Well, welcome. So
Welcome.
I dressed up to be Jack Lloyd, the girl version.
Yes.
Trans.
Whoa.
Oh, I just
Careful
wanted
there.
to show the
Yeah.
the picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
I dressed up as Jack.
Nice. Well, you dress up as voluntarious because it'd be like saying you dress up like Clark Kent, but you're not dressed as a reporter, right? You're dressed as the superhero, so you're dressed as voluntarist.
Oh, you're right. I'm dressed as voluntarious. So anyway, that's right. Happy Saturday.
Yes. Happy Saturday.
It is the last 10 point something hours till the end of the campaign. You know, we kicked it off on New Year's Day 2020. And that was really, really fun.
Yes.
Oh, man. What's up, ACAP gang? Dylan.
Yes.
Hello.
What's up, Irish Drink?
We'll be having that tonight.
For now, I'm just having delicious coffee. I just didn't really appreciate the value of a cold brew until now. Since we got it, I'm like, okay, I need something to keep us up because last night was really, really long.
Yeah.
Went pretty hard in the paint, harder than expected. So.
Oh, it's Anarchy's Actual Freedom. I've seen you in the threads.
He says,
not commies in the threads.
That's right.
He said, when is the films expected to be released? I think
Good question. We don't know the exact date in terms of, we don't know exactly when which video, because there's going to be multiple, which video will be released, except to say that it will be released before November. So in other words, it's going to be released before the actual election season. Actually, more specifically than November even, it should be released before October. So, obviously it's going to take time to make these different videos, but most of them we should be able to make within a few months of work because we're going to get to working on them as soon as the funds disperse. So, if we fundraise all the way up to the main feature film, that obviously that's going to take the most time to do the feature PSA. So that will, take a little bit longer, but by and large, we're going to maybe be having videos coming out as relates to this project within just a matter of a couple months after, starting with probably like the real dangers of red flag reality, most likely. So it's going to be fun.
Yes. And I agree. Anarchy, this and the Stateless Production documentary. I'm really excited for that. And in fact, gosh, I should see if Chris could come on real quick to talk about that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we could get Chris to talk about it. So Chris is the person who spearheaded the Stateless production company who created the, I'm going to just want to make sure I say this right, Monopoly on Violence Beyond the State film, because they played around with the title at first. So that film is actually really awesome, and they're working on that right now. They're actually doing some editing, and I know just because Chris told me the other day. And he was specifically editing some of the segments with fun, I hear. And they basically went around and interviewed a bunch of different people who are hardcore activists within, the liberty sphere. And I should say, not just beyond activists. I mean, we have professors and academics and things like that, but people who are outspoken, ardent supporters of liberty. And they did the whole bit, the whole gamut of people. So there's artists, there's singers, there's people who are just purely academics, there's people who have done special types of protests, and the like. So you get the whole range of interesting interviews with people who are either living the life as best they can or trying to change people's minds. So that is going to be a cool video to see, and we're excited for that. So, and in addition, of course, you'll be seeing both of us in it. So definitely worth seeing. And we're going to be promoting that too on this film. So we're going to be letting people know when that gets released and giving people a link for the digital purchaser. I think you can get a physical copy too. I think they're going to make a Blu-ray or something to that extent. So, and in addition to that, I'm like, okay, she just I was like, oh, okay. No, it's all good. So she's just messaging other people because we're going to be having some people pop in today with us. So I think we already announced formally that Carrie Wedler is going to be coming on, and many of you may have seen many. I mean, she's done so many videos; it's insane. So I'm sure you've seen at least one of them at some point because her videos, have millions of views across the board, and she has been doing activism for years, especially just calling out the warfare and welfare state. So we're going to be talking to her. We're going to be talking to Brandon of Agris Nexus. So he officially confirmed with us. And then we're even going to be talking later to Mikey Wong of Being Libertarian Hong Kong, who we did interview earlier, I think it was just a couple months ago, talking about the protests in Hong Kong. But he said that he'd like to come on again to talk about the situation, talk about coronavirus and all that stuff there, since he's actually like much closer than we are to Wuhan. Hopefully not so close that he gets it, but although from what I've seen, it's not like crazy bad or anything, but just interesting to talk about. So for now, what we're doing is we're kind of hanging out, promoting the campaign, and we're gonna play some games too. We did play some fun games last night. I'm not sure. Oh, I see. Yes, Rika was here last night. So Rika was here playing. I can see her in the threads. There was a bunch of people who were playing with us. Yeah. So we were, playing Pictionary, which actually was a lot of fun. And we got the proper dry erase marker erasers that we needed for one of the boards. Because at first we tried to write it, and then we realized that Pictionary didn't come with the eraser for some reason. So we got the erasers so we can use a bigger board instead of just paper. And we have Hangman. And of course, this is the one that I'm most excited about. I'm not sure whether we're going to do this later, probably later, just because I don't want to be in pain for hours. I would like to go to sleep, but we have the Firewalk Challenge. So we literally have another hot sauce game. And we did one before, but this one's actually more formalized into a game. There's actual board game and cards. So we're going to take the dive and hopefully survive. But we're pretty good with our hot stuff. But this does have Scoville units listed on it. And I see one here. I can't see the one. I see 150,000 and it goes up from there. But we're going to be doing that in support of Red Flag Reality. We will cause much and great pain to ourselves for this project. Okay, let me just see here because I see some questions about the project.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me do that. I also reached out to Spike Cohen of the Waffle Caucus just to see if he feels better.
Yeah, having Spike on be fun. I hope he pops in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna have some people pop in, people who are out there doing activist projects and things like that.
I'm glad you had fun, Rika. That's awesome. It was really, really fun. And yeah, I tried 12 p.m. Eastern, and here we are. So, and it's because last night was super fun, as Rika said.
How was your how was your state this morning after all those rosés?
Rosé. So we also had rosés.
Were you like?
Wait, are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
I thought you were talking to Rika.
No. She wasn't having unless she was having rosé and we didn't know.
You did.
No. I'm talking. I
don't know. I remember
you,
that. That's weird. Well, there are people chatting who are like, "Oh, you need vodka. Vodka's where it's at."
Yeah, and then someone's like, "Oh yeah, I got Fireball." Someone's like, "Oh, I'm getting bourbon." Wow. But you had rosé.
I had some rosé.
How did you feel this morning?
Good. Tired.
A little tired.
Yeah.
You're like, I need more sleep.
Right. That's correct.
Well, yeah, we went hard. We tried not to go too hard because we knew tonight was the hardest of hard nights, especially since we decided that we're going to try to go for all the way to the end, which is technically 3 a.m. It ends 12 on Pacific time, but
we have a lot of games like we mentioned. You thought last night was fun with the Pictionary and the Mad Libs. We're doing Hangman today. We can do Pictionary and Mad Libs.
We're going to do it all. We got time.
And we also have this game called the Firewalk Challenge. Mm-hmm. You roll some die. I'm sure there's some certain rules or something. Some ruse. That was fun last night, making those jokes about anarchy and the ruse. Okay.
Voluntary rules.
Right. And doing the hot sauce challenge. So that will be fun. We've done it before for the Voluntarius campaign, and gosh, that was such a time. I did it with chicken feet that time, but
yeah, no chicken feet
this
this
time
time
it'll be chicken poppers.
because we can't have those Wuhan chickens. You know what I mean?
Good old fried chicken poppers from the South. Good old voluntary made by some Southern white people chicken popper. Anyways.
Yeah, all the chicken, none of the virus, none of the feet,
none of the corona.
and no, I mean we were attempting on doing some bat. That would have been fun.
Someone
Having a
put
hot sauce
for
bat challenge.
Yeah, someone put Wuhan as a type of food for one of the Mad Libs.
Yeah, that could be like a new rap group, the Wuhan Clan.
Can I read some of those Mad Libs now that I'm in a different
state of mind?
Yeah, state of mind. Like
without a bunch of rose? Yeah.
So we did Give Me Liberty or Give Me Mad Libs, and it was just fun to see the audience that was there and the words that were chosen. So, instead of Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. And I won't read the next one. That's I'll save that for later.
Well, yeah, we're actually going to continue doing some ad libs, probably actually very shortly here. Maybe some more Pictionary. Definitely the Hangman. So now that we actually have the right tools, we didn't realize that we didn't have the right tools until after. That was a knowledge problem.
Yeah. All right. So this was the words as American as. Okay, I'll just read this. It's fine.
Yeah, you should read it.
Okay.
Don't be ashamed. It's already on the internet. It's out there.
You're right. All right, Lloyd. So do you know the horny? That's one of the words. Horny saying that's as American as bat pie. Well, bat pie isn't the only thing that's Asianly American. Here's a list of some of the most Freudian things that represent the pimp. US of A. Apple pie. There's nothing quite like biting into a forkful of jungle pie to celebrate being a skyscraper. Just don't add McNuke cream. A la mode makes it French. All right, it was funnier last night. Okay, baseball is the sweet American pastime that dates all the way back to the 1700s. So around the same time your mom and anarchists were in school. Okay, these relentless pants, they're talking about blue jeans, can be worn all year round for almost every occasion, like your next visit to the Walter Block's Murder Palace. Matching denim, left sock optional. And then lastly, Mad Libs. There's nothing more obnoxious than playing Mad Libs with your protesters. Just make sure to do it while eating pizza pie and wearing your favorite mauve jeans.
See, that actually makes sense because we're doing Mad Libs right now with our favorite protesters. So
yeah,
the rest of the protesters here protesting all the government intervention, especially all the red flag laws coming up.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is very frustrating. It also feels frustrating that we're doing this now when it's like part of me wishes that we could have been doing this even sooner. If it, I wish that we had started this project a little bit earlier, before all the legislation was really starting it going, because now it's already been implemented in several states. New Mexico just passed it. It would have been nice to have gotten some more videos out sooner, to stop it. But again, here we are. We got to try to stop it. Yeah, we got to try to stop it now. I mean, obviously, it hasn't been implemented in all 50 states yet, which is
sure,
a good thing.
Most people, most people are working hard. They're trying to rise out of poverty. I mean, we just made that video, 3 ways to decrease poverty. Or was it eliminate? Either way.
Eliminate.
Either way. Oh, okay. But yeah, it's just abolish the income tax and all these things, the property tax that really, it's like cutting off your legs. You're trying so hard to lift yourself up. So anyway, I would have loved to start sooner too. I would have loved to be doing more things right now. Imagine if we had like millions thrown
Yeah.
at us.
If
Like,
we had half of what Sandy Hook Promise has,
should we
or
just go to Bloomberg?
every town,
Be like, yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
support gun
we make a
control.
fake.
And then we like release
Yeah.
these crazy libertarian bills. He's like, that's not what you said.
Right.
You said you were for gun control.
Double agents. Yeah. You're like, thanks, Bloomberg, for all the money for the gun control we're going to be promoting, and
Right.
secretly make.
Yeah, sign a contract.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, they definitely. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they signed something, as relates to that. So, but yeah. So here we are. We are fighting back as best we can in the media realm.
Sure.
Obviously, there's people doing great things like Firearms Policy
Nicholas.
Coalition. Firearms Policy Coalition is doing great things in the courts. And we do want to thank Firearms Policy Coalition because
They are
not
busy.
only have they supported our campaign, but they are actually doing a $15,000 match on the campaign itself. So in other words, when you support the campaign getting a perk, again, they're still dollar matching 15,000, and that's above the 10,000. So in other words, out of that dollar matching, there's still roughly around $5,500 worth of dollar matching to go. So we still have about $5,500 worth of dollar matching to still meet. So that's great. In other words, your support goes a long way, especially right here, right now, because again, it's literally going to be something that FPC helps out on and makes it count twice. And we're actually about to hit the next level. The next that is
20,000.
20,000. We're actually at 19,538.
I feel like I should draw on the board what the current number is,
Oh, well, yeah. I was like, that's the wrong board.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Well, we should replace it, though. We definitely should replace the board here in a second.
Draw something.
But that's the next threshold. And of course, that
Yeah.
unlocks the next video. But of course, we're going to be doing as much as we can and stretching as much as we can.
What is the next
with
video?
resources.
So we should say what the current
So
video
the current
is.
video is the real
When it's
dangers
under
of red
20.
flag laws presentation video. And then at 20, it goes, dear public school students, your teachers are lying to you.
So
Skip.
we're almost there. So if you want to help us get to the next tier, go on over to redflagreality.com. And then there's a button to the Indiegogo campaign.
You keep turning into a Southerner. How does that happen?
Southern culture was a big part of my life growing up. It was in movies, so many movies. Movies about caps, movies about the good old boys from the... Anyway, I've just seen a lot of movies growing up. You just, if you grow up with television, if that's how your parents are like, yeah, we're not going to watch it. Here's some TV. Well, you're going to end up watching a lot of movies and like rap videos and music videos, pop videos. And you learn a lot about the world that way. And I will say that's really part of a huge part of my childhood and imprinting is all the comedy shows I've seen and impressions and all the kinds of people and jokes. And that non-PC culture I grew up with. I really enjoyed that. And let's go back to like that. Not exactly, but you know what I mean? Like just being able to just make fun of racial stereotypes. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not like denigrating somebody, you're just like pointing out, hey, it's common in Chinese culture for there to be shame. And then you do an impression and it's part of your own like coping with that ridiculous aspect of reality or where you were, where you came from. If you came from a Chinese family or Vietnamese family. Like myself, speaking of Chinese, we'll be having Mikey Wong coming in later. And I'm going to see if I can like talk to him in Cantonese. I'm pretty sure he's fluent, but I want to see how long it can last. It's like a test. Maybe he'll give me a press. Maybe I can make him ref. We'll see.
He will probably ref.
To be determined.
He'll ref quite a bit. All right.
Maybe he'll play the piano.
I think this is, as you said, I think it's a good time for you to write on the board where we're at and how close we are to 20,000, because that is the big milestone that's coming up next. And crossing that threshold of the 20,000 would actually be really incredible.
Yeah.
Because that would unlock the next tier. And then we could also update in the campaign and add that little, there's this like M16 that is on the campaign that gets colored in.
Yeah.
And the M16 gets colored in more, the more the funding goes up. So we can actually update that in the next check mark too. So I don't know. I just like the visual. I think it looks cool. So we need to think about what games we want to play too after this, because we're gonna have. Let me see here. I think the first interview that's.
I was gonna turn it into an AR, but.
Do you need to try again? You want to scrap this one and try again?
Well, no, I'll make a new kind of firearm.
Okay. That's getting interesting. This thermometer is okay. That's gonna be interesting. So I think
I like that flat trigger.
Yeah, you could do a flat trigger. So Agorist Nexus, Brandon from Agorist Nexus is going to be coming out at 7:30. So you do have a little bit of time between now and then to play some games and hang on out, leading up to his coming on and talking about what he's doing with Agorist Nexus, and also his support, because he's been a big supporter of this campaign and of other work as well. So I'm kind of excited to hear what's going on with him and what he's looking to do with Liberty in 2020. And then after that, we have Carrie Wedler at about, I think, 9:15. And then Mikey will be to be determined, because we're going to see he's 13 hours ahead. So he should be waking up at a certain time. Hopefully he doesn't oversleep. And then he will come on with us and hang out with us and talk more about that. And then there'll be the serendipity of certain people possibly popping in and out. We'll see. We'll message some people.
All right. You kind of see it. You see my.
It looks like some weird mixture of.
This is
a
really
things.
Soft.
I don't know, man.
Bump stuff.
People are really good at wondering what this.
I just got us banned because I said it. The ATF.
Oh, goodness.
Like, did we hear?
Did I hear bump stuff?
Did you? Oh, you got to show that I can't. For the AR,
I can't
it's
show
like
it.
the dust cover.
I can't do it.
Thing. And it has a
it has an ATF
agent,
on it.
ATF agent. I said FBI.
Yeah, I'm like
one ATF agent looking when it's closed, and then when it opens, it has like 5 of the ATF agents. It's so funny. Okay.
Yeah, it is pretty funny dust cover.
Here we are. This is,
So, I would like to hear from the audience, whoever is actually here and able to type, what game you'd like to play first out of the non-Firewalk challenge ones. So that would be Pictionary, Mad Libs, and Hangman. We have those 3.
Yeah.
So Pictionary, Mad Libs, Hangman.
So we're super close to hitting.
Super close to what?
Oh, hitting the 20,000.
Yeah, we're right now really relatively close to the 20,000. It's like, what, $462 away. So speaking of being that close and 462, there's right now, for this last week, we did 2 special perk discounts. So the group dinner, we have 50% off what it normally is. So I'll link that down below. And then we also have a 35% off on the couples package if you want to go to the range and the dinner. So again, that's 2 people going both range and dinner access.
And that's any couple. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a couple
male,
of your
male, female,
buddies.
Could be male, male, female, female.
Right. You can literally, if you just want to go with a buddy, that's fine too.
What's a buddy?
Like,
what's your buddy?
A friend. Okay, one of those things. Yeah, so again, just a couple of people.
Girlfriend. That's all. Okay. Sounds good. So that's the next tier.
Interesting.
We're just
you've developed a new gun.
It's like an AR. I wanted to put it in the back, but
so
like
we have one person says Hangman here.
Hangman.
Random.
All
right. So we can throw that up. We should I guess, I don't know, do we need to use another board, or what should we do? Oh, the conundrums. I mean, this has sticky stuff on the back, so you can take it off and re-stick it. It's just...
You're right.
I am.
You could stick it over there on the board for now.
The magic of giant sticky notes.
That's true. Oh, you could post it on the RFR board. I think that works. Well, yeah. So thanks for hanging. Somebody said more videos of you shooting firearms, please. I agree. Yes, please. I'd really like to. I'm just waiting. So you see how? Oh, it's gone. But I drew a flat trigger, and that's what I'm waiting for.
Well, the reason that we haven't been doing the shooting stuff as much is just because we've been doing a couple of events and busy doing this. So I can't wait to get back to shooting. But yes, all these promotions have been taking, of course, I should say, precedence over all the other things. So, but once this is done, which is as of today, then it's back to doing some range stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. So Hangman, for those that don't know, basically whoever is going gets to choose like a phrase, and you guys guess different letters. And then, I fill in the letters as I go based on the phrase.
Oh, well,
what
I choose the phrase.
Oh, you choose the phrase?
Because they're going to, how would anybody even?
Oh, I was saying I choose the phrase.
Oh, you're choosing the phrase.
Yeah, or either.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's fine.
The moderators. The moderators.
Okay, yeah. I was
and then could you get the hangman board? So
yes.
We got this hangman board where it has the actual hangman, and it's just like flipped plastic with letters on it or parts of the hangman. So instead of like drawing over and over, we just put the words up here that we're guessing. So we have more room for the phrases. And then we can keep track of the letters that have been guessed using this really easy, reusable. Anyone know about reusability? Oops. Well, that's reusability there. You can just flip it on over like that. And when you're done and you're ready to reset.
How's this going to stick up there? How are we going to stick that up there?
Someone's going to hold it.
I don't think so. That's a no from me, boss. I think basically what we can do is we could put it on like a. I thought this had a hanger thing. Here, let me grab a stand.
Okay. Wonder if the phone stand would work. Well, so anywho. Oh, shoot more vintage firearms. That's really interesting. Duct tape always works. This is so surprisingly heavy, though, I will say. But I mean, it's more, I don't know, even if we hung it up, if what matters is that you can see it, and it's just really holding it close. Yeah. So we'll see. It's a heavy board. Is it fitting? Oops.
Oh.
Did it fit?
Yes, but let me just see something.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, so you can really see it.
Yeah, you can really see it, but we're going to need to do a little bit of finagling. So hold on a second. I'm going to take that actually. Oh. Okay. Let me take that coffee back.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
It's like, that's nice.
That's nice. And then I'm going to carefully move this into the center.
Whoa, thanks for coming in. It's cool. I saw it go from 10 to 17 to 20. Just in and out. That's awesome. What are you guys doing on Saturday? Preparing for Corona? Supplies change disrupted. Just kidding. I don't know. There is speculation for sure. Interesting. What I do know are people are being quarantined by force for being suspected of being exposed to it, which is like, should that happen if you got like the common cold or a flu or something? Like that's what.
It's just property rights is what it boils down to at the end.
Yeah, just like exclude people. Just say, hey, if you have, Corona, you're excluded from a property. And if someone comes in, that's your property, so you can say, hey, you got to leave. We don't want your kind here exposed to Corona.
Oh my goodness. All right. So now that we know Fuzz a bigot, we're not just kidding. What? She's bigoted against Chinese people who have coronavirus.
Are just people with viruses from my property. Anyway.
So really okay, so how does it work? You just flip the things around? Like
every time there's a guess on a letter, and then we'll just keep track. And then same thing here.
So we got to flip this.
So I think that's for every letter that's guessed wrong. Then we flip. And the goal obviously is before all of these are flipped and he's hung, well then, that's that's how you win. So
Okay. So that is more official.
oh, and then you flip the hand. Oh, that
Right?
makes
Because you build the
sense.
person.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, in real life, honestly, like that doesn't make sense. Why would you slowly add the head of
That's
the
literally how
prisoner?
hangman works.
I know, but
And
I'm
you
just
complete the
saying,
body.
like, that doesn't make sense in real life. You don't complete the body that you hang.
Well, usually you don't hang a person like one body part at a time by
That's what I'm
cutting them
saying.
off. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So you want to come up
So
with the
hold on. Before we get into this, I'm going to get into the rules. So what we did last
rules.
night is we made it so that you basically anybody can play in terms of submitting stuff, but for this hangman, we'll do it where you can either use a super chat or you can do a support in the campaign, and that gets you a letter. So you can on
Yeah.
YouTube use super chat, or you can support the campaign, and that gets you a letter guess. And where's that timer from before?
Oh, I have a timer on my phone.
Oh,
We did
okay.
it that way. Actually.
And then we had an alternative where if, of course, because people have already supported and have already done things like that. So again, understand if you don't want to do it or you've already supported, you don't want to keep spending money when you already did. It's all good. Just we'll take an honors code here that you shared the campaign to your social media. So again, if you share the campaign to Facebook, Minds, Reddit, whatever, Steam, whatever you use, just if you share the campaign, we'll take your word of honor that that you shared it, and then you can guess a letter, and we'll go based on that word. So
yeah, how long do you want the timer to be? Like a minute
for in between stuff.
Oh well, I guess for guessing
We could just
a
wait.
letter.
Yeah, we just wait for it to come through. So
yeah.
But now what you need to do is you need to pick a word.
Oh, one word, not a phrase.
Or a phrase.
Or
a phrase. It could be a word or a phrase.
All right, let's start this. Gonna be I'm gonna do a sentence, an assertion.
Oh, and I would say I think that you're supposed to write it down below here, but I think that it's probably best to write it behind here. Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna leave this for the words.
That is what she said. Yes, indeed.
All right. Well.
Okay. That's a big phrase.
Wait. Okay. Okay, I just had to make sure that, I put it right. So. And then how do I denote a space clearly?
What do you mean denote space clearly?
Oh, so there's a space here. Like, do I just
I think you're just supposed to make a bigger gap. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Okay. Well, yeah. I guess you can do that. That helps.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay, so that's a word.
Perfect. All right. So now we actually have something that we can work with. We have letters, we have hangman, and now all we're going to do then, in this case, because I just realized hangman's a little different. Coffee. Of course you may. This is a free country. No. This game will be just a little bit different from, like, of course, Pictionary or the, what do you call it? The Mad Libs. So in this case, we'll just hang and talk until someone supports or does a super chat with a guess.
Yeah.
I'll grab you coffee anytime.
Thanks, Rika. Thanks, Travis. Hi. Thanks for being here last night. You're also there with Rika. It was really fun. And just some guy just found you and watched your Declaration of Independence video. Ben in Anarcho, I think that's what you meant. Capitalist for a better part of a decade, but been out of the community for a couple of years. Excited to see Moo. MU. I think you mean more, but thank you. That's awesome. Man, that's a cool story. Yeah, how'd you like that video, Declaration of Independence? I really enjoyed making it. It was like quite surreal making it, just like, well, here I am making a video about this. Never thought I'd see the day. Man, it's quite interesting. You know, never thought I would be trying to fight for liberty either. I was under such a delusion growing up in the public school system that just believing that, hey, liberty has been achieved now. That's it. Like, the state's here and it's been a strong empire for decades. you know. And I'm like, I really believed it. So it's just like so surreal in that way, just like having come from such a different mindset and worldview. So yeah, interesting times. Travis said link to this movie. Yeah, just go on. You are on YouTube already, so if you go to my channel, it's one of the more recent videos. I think the last several ones. Cool. And I see just some guys' comments again. Yeah. Let me see if I can get a link. Oh, it's too far. We'll see if Jack can get a link when he comes back. Yeah. But yeah. So then we'll also check on the campaign when Jack comes back, or anyone want to do super chats. Either way, you can guess a letter. Oh, thank you. That's some coffee right there. Exciting.
All right.
Whoa.
Did it spill?
Almost.
Oh, okay. As long as it doesn't spill, we're good.
It's just so hard.
Okay. So anything new otherwise on the campaign since that 1 minute and 30 seconds ago I left?
No, because I couldn't check.
That's good.
The keyboard was too far. Why is
it's
that
okay.
good?
Oh, it just keeps things nice and safe.
Wow, that's delicious.
We don't. Oh, okay. I was gonna say we don't have to put it that far ahead. We could move the coaster back, so that way it doesn't have to be so far.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the meantime, let us talk about all kinds of things in the real world.
Hey, Mises.org pen. I got this at Mises University.
That was a lot of fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
So what liberty events you guys going to, or rallies or protests, or
Yeah, I think liberty events can be a lot of fun and a great way to meet other people who are like-minded,
Network,
especially if you feel
exactly.
alone, like you're like, I'm the only person who loves liberty in 100 miles, 200 miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's something that kind of makes you feel like, oh, okay, I have a community. There's other people, who I'm not crazy. I'm not alone.
Yeah, and they're just like regular people. Like, what does that mean? Just like people
They're
who
not
are
regular
just
people.
trying to survive. Well, and like in that they share. They're not like, there's this like stereotype of libertarians being like basement dweller incels or some weird thing, but like
We're literally in a basement right now.
that's so funny.
That's where we live.
Well, I didn't say I meant not all. But basically, like, there are so many people who are just, they have families, they're just trying to, save and have a life and enjoy life and see beautiful things and travel and have friends and family, and protection. Like, that's it. And then we all come together at different liberty events, or even I consider this a liberty event. This stream right here, this is a liberty event. It's, although it's virtual, it is a liberty event. So thank you guys for being here, and the people commenting, you make up the consciousness of the stream, even though we can't see your full, visceral reaction, everything. But it's really cool to like come together with people who are just like you in a lot of ways, where you have a lot of common ground, maybe not everything, and the things where you differ, it's always a learning experience, and for me, it's about recognizing that other humans have their own unique world experience, just like I do, and this own interesting world inside them. And I'm always just more curious than anything to understand why people are the way they are. That's like my number one I don't know. I just like it stems from me really loving, understanding why I'm the way I am. And then I just can't help but realize, oh, okay, I'm pretty sure those are other human beings too with and their consciousnesses. And I could have been born in their bodies or in their circumstances, had their childhoods, I didn't choose my upbringing either. So that's where I like to focus. And that's what I think is a big part of the libertarian, voluntarist, anarchist philosophy that we espouse, that we advocate for, that I advocate for. It's specifically in this grounding of empathy and compassion for your fellow human beings. Like that's it.
Mm.
And like once you can have that compassion, empathy for yourself as a human being, I think it's just natural that you just see that in others. Once you finally, as I like to call it, some people like to phrase it, healing your child within, like basically connecting with who you really are instead of just reacting based and following your emotions or stimuli, just like really trying to think through and internalize whatever values you espouse, whether it's honesty, courage, whatever. And also really knowing why and how you came to be. It's fascinating. I find it a fascinating study. And yeah, that's what I like to do when I meet people is I just like to get to know them and their stories. It's just like fascinates me to no end. Just like how people came to be my fellow human beings. So thank you guys in the comments for being here. Wow, the lighting changed. That used to be higher,
Yeah,
but now
I
it's
just wanted
lower.
a little bit more even and flat on us.
Whoa, it's like the sunset.
Yeah, the sun has set. I really like your discussion here of self-knowledge and stuff like that. I
Thanks,
want to talk more
man.
about that. Someone did ask a question really quick. They said, did you guys approach GOA or the giant gun groups for funding?
Oh,
And
yeah.
there are answers to that question. The first of which is that we did actually message GOA after we had gotten some funding in already. I had messaged, what's his face? The social media guy, basically, and the guy who runs our communications. And I didn't get anything back. So, meh, whatever. But we are, by and large,
FPC actually reached out to us.
FPC reached out
So
to
it was
us.
the reverse, which was awesome.
Right, which was great. And
to me, that really, I'd been following them fairly new, like compared to some who'd been with them for a while, but like for the past year total now. But when they reached out, it was about like I don't know, I was like 8 months into knowing them. So I still didn't like really know and like was comparing them to like the NRA and what I've known the NRA has pushed for in terms of gun control legislation. So it was really refreshing to be reached out by them and to be complimented for my work, for our work. It was really flattering. And so they came in as executive advertisers right away, like first day on New Year's. It was really exciting way to kick off New Year's. So thank you for that as well, Firearms Policy Coalition. And then now they're doing a $15,000 matching campaign. So for every dollar, they're going to match it all the way up to 15,000. And so of that 15,000, so far we've gotten 9,500 something. I could say you could do the current amount. But you take the current amount, you minus 10,000 because that's their executive advertisement, and then that's how much of the $15,000 matching campaign we've gone through. So it's really exciting. If we got to the threshold of 15,000, that would mean 30,000 if with the dollar matching plus the executive advertisement. So that would be 40,000 out of our 50,000 goal, and that would be really exciting. So,
yeah, no, that'd be excellent.
And we're close.
Yes, we're definitely getting very close.
We're almost to the 10,000 mark.
In fact, we just had another support.
Oh wow! Okay, thanks.
I'm not sure who it was.
Yeah,
but I appreciate your support.
You can guess a letter.
If the person is here who just supported, you can guess a letter. Indeed.
You can guess a letter. And then somebody asked where I got my anarchy gear from.
Oh,
Not
well,
volunteer.
it depends on
Oh, we
what
do have a lot of
specifically.
anarchy gear. Well,
You're talking about the mug. You
these
can lift,
mugs are
lift you
from
can lift the mug because I can't see it
these
otherwise.
mugs are from Libertarian Country.
Right.
This is what I was trying to draw in AK-47, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the Anarchy ANCAP 8.
Right. So freedom of guns. Freedom for all guns. And okay, so yeah, so there's one person just supported. I'm just updating this here. All right, awesome. We're getting really close to 20,000. I'm getting pretty stoked.
Whoa. So 19,663 is what we're at. That's really close. I'm so excited.
Me too. And a commenter here says, I dropped NRA for GOA, but I'm about to drop them for low group. Too many scam groups out there deceiving the public for millions. Yeah, it's true. It's, it's unfortunate when these groups that you think are trying to actually, supposedly help fight back against the gun grabbers actually aren't. And,
I just saw an
NRA is one of
ad
them.
today from the NRA sponsored
So,
post on Twitter. Something about, hey, we're defending, it was like from NRA for women.
Yeah, it is really annoying. GOA is definitely way better. We like FPC, of course, a lot because they are a absolutist
some
organization.
Of the most principled, and I'm really loving their social media team. Whoever team of people they have is really good. I love the visuals they make, like their policy updates, covering all the legislation being proposed in different states, like California. Was it Missouri? I thought I saw, just like so many places. So yeah, I don't know about GOA. We reached out to them directly. I just tweeted at them. Maybe it could be that they're overloaded with notifications. I don't know.
I don't think so. Well, because I directly messaged them. So I used their general contact form, and they actually contacted me back directly and told me who to talk to.
Right.
So it wasn't. In my case, it wasn't a generic like, oh, I just sent them a message, their automated messaging system, and just never got anything back. No, actually, I had communications back, had them say okay, and they escalated it and said, okay, talk to this person, and I sent them the message, but they never followed up. So, but
if you want to help to that end, if you're on Twitter, feel free to retweet my tags of them. I tagged you.
I was actually going to suggest that something that we could actually start here right now that I wanted to do was a tweet up specifically with the hashtags red flag reality. So if you especially use Twitter, I'm going to post this as a banner. I want everybody to be tweeting out support hashtag red flag reality at all these different major gun groups, because we want to create that viral media, pressure to like let them know. Because again, it's hard to reach some of these people. They are doing good work. Many of them are doing great stuff. So they're just very busy. And we know that, firsthand ourselves and from other groups. So sometimes you just have to be the squeaky wheel. And it's not like they don't want to support, a certain thing that's important. It's just, it's hard to get attention with everybody else. So
Twitter storm.
Yeah. So that's what we want. We want, Twitter storm. I like that phrase. I'm going to put this here. So Twitter storm, hashtag red flag reality,
Yeah. To make it easy, just go to my Twitter. It's Da Philosopher, DAPHOLOSOPHER. So yeah, if you go there, then you'll see my tweet with all GOA, Second Amendment Foundation. I put Firearms Policy Coalition. Basically, it's an invite for them to come onto our show and support as well. So you can retweet that tweet and it should, or reply to it and it should tag them all. I think it's if you reply, then it will tag them.
Right.
And you can do it that way.
Yeah, there's many different ways to do it. I mean, definitely, I would like to get the attention of groups like GOA, SAF, Defense Distributed. I sent Defense Distributed message, but obviously they are, very busy doing great stuff. Again, it's not like they're not out there doing great stuff. They're doing great stuff. So it's just hard to get their attention. You know what I mean? And again, we're not even necessarily even saying that we need to get financial support from these groups or anything, but even just for them to be like, oh, hey, check out this campaign, like retweet it, Facebook post about it would be huge, just to let people know, what we're doing, just like we do for them all the time. You know what I mean? We definitely share and promote, all these different organizations and groups, Defense Distributed, and
Yeah.
FBC and other stuff. We definitely share and promote their stuff too on different channels and our pages and stuff. So you know what I mean? It'd be cool to get a little love back. But
And
well,
I just pasted in the
oh,
chat
perfect.
the link to that status update or reply. So you can, if you just reply to that tweet, then it should automatically tag all of those people. And yeah, my bent was to invite them onto the show and like campaign with us, but of course that by virtue will just introduce them to the campaign. And it would be awesome to talk about what all of these different people are doing to fight back. And yeah, form a coalition, should I say, Firearms Policy Coalition. So it's really cool. I like seeing, on a different note, I really like seeing all of these different groups coming together from all different sides of the aisle, you could say, all different cultures and backgrounds and origin stories, and coming out and advocating for the right to self-defense with whatever weapon you choose, and to advocate for property rights. You own your body and you own yourself, like plain and simple. And it's really cool to see, like, from religious conservatives to, I don't know, gay trans people. I don't know. Like, it's really cool to see this coalition forming of people who are like, yeah, well, sure, somebody could be completely different from me, but if they at least share my core virtue of property rights and respecting people's right to defend themselves and own property, and not take away their property, be free from that, from being stolen from, that's awesome. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need someone to like the same flavor of ice cream or dress the same way that I do or fit whatever subjective views or standards I have of people that go beyond just what aggression. For victimless things, I could care less. It's just, I mean, I will have an opinion on it, but it's not like, I don't think that's enough to say, oh, this person is bad or anything like that. It's what people, what virtues they have. Do they agree with me in the non-aggression principle? Do they apply that consistently in their life? And do they advocate for it? Well, great. That's it. That's all I need. I don't care if you don't like Asian food and you hate pho. I really could care less. It's just, are you not going to violate somebody for not liking pho or whatever? So
yeah, and someone asks here, as relates to red flag laws and things like that and gun legislation, how much is it really to do with big gun groups, or is it just people work behind the scenes? I mean, I think that the gun groups do make a difference, because again, the incentives are about political action. So politicians are chasing the money and the power. They want to do whatever they can to secure re-election. So if they're told, oh, well, if you promote this agenda, you're going to get millions of dollars and all this other stuff, like, yeah, they're going to do it. So anytime there's lots of money and resources being thrown at someone for promoting a certain agenda, of course, I mean, it's going to be a thing. So that's why any kind of political lobbying has an effect when it comes to whether someone perceives, rightly or wrongly, that they're going to get more people to vote for them, or they're going to get lots of funding, because that's their lifestyle. Their lifestyle is to be a politician. So what does that mean? They're 100% focused on how can they keep power and keep getting people's money to do what they do, which is just literally blow a bunch of smoke in front of people.
Someone asked, how do we know we aren't wasting our money with GOA? I mean, one part of the process, if you want to answer that question of like who's trustworthy, like try to validate if someone says they're for gun rights, try to validate that statement, right? So one thing you can do is like look at all the board of directors or all the people that are in charge of directing what happens with an organization, like the NRA, Wayne LaPierre or something, like
LaPierre something. Yes, LaPierre something.
But just look him up and just see the things that he's done, and if you can't trust those people, I mean, that might be a good sign that you may not want to risk it. But that's just one example. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah. To be more specific, again, if you want to judge actions, you look at what it is that they do when it comes to legislation and lawsuits, right? So you want to actually look, where are they when they're when there's certain issues that come up where they have a meaningful chance to take on something. So, for example, with Heller McDonald, that was taken on by Alan Gura. The NRA didn't want to take those cases. Alan took those cases and won them. And while it's not really the best of the best wins, it at least made it clear as far as SCOTUS level case rights that the right to bear arms is a confirmed individual right to bear arms. Although I personally think that the way Scalia articulated things was pretty trashy because he, was like, well, it could be regulated in certain ways. Like, oh gosh, here we go. So I think, yeah, that's the start. So, he made an individual right so they couldn't, outright ban things in like DC and stuff. But the thing is that you really just have to look at the actions of what someone says they're doing versus what they actually do. And that is going to stem from looking at lawsuits, legislation, and especially when there are key issues, if someone takes an action, right? Like the Philandro Castile issue in the NRA where they didn't stand up for him. That was horrific. So that inaction can also be another indicator is if they're not, openly, vociferously condemning state violence against people for carrying arms. And the NRA has certainly kowtowed to all kinds of gun grabbing legislation from the NFA.
They've pushed the phrase law-abiding citizen. That's like their
right. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
That's their hidden thing. It's because if you deconstruct that and you're like, well, what does that mean, a law-abiding citizen? Oh, okay. Well, these are man-made laws. They can change any time, and they're already changing it. So if they make it a law that you have to give up your handgun that has more than 5 rounds, now you're a criminal,
right?
Like,
and you're not law-abiding if you still keep it. So it's just horrible rhetoric.
That shouldn't be the focus. And I knowing what they've pushed for, I think that rhetoric from the NRA specifically, from top down, is intentional. Specifically because if you said peaceful people, well, now that would open up the can of worms to apply to be consistent in other areas where you advocate for gun control. If you recognize that this form of gun control is violence, it would cause you to question the other ones. But if you can just say, oh, law-abiding citizens, like you're papering over the nature of gun control laws.
It makes you think of that
because
NRA
you're saying, oh,
said.
law-abiding citizens, they're going to obey. The only people who won't obey are criminals. And while that in itself is an interesting way to look at it and advocate for gun rights, when they say law-abiding citizens, it leaves out the people who aren't criminals. It's like, oh, actually, there's this third category. There's people who aren't, quote, law-abiding, but they're not criminals. They're not violent people. So they create just two groups. They're like, there's either law-abiding citizens or there's criminals. And it's like, wait. There's people who are not law-abiding because these laws are violent in themselves or they violate property rights. Like if there was a law that, oh, you can't say, you can't call someone a he or a she. Oh, okay. Like, right. Like that's a violation of your right to speak, so yeah.
Well, right. Yeah. And that's a really dangerous rhetoric that I think is not just speculative. It's very clear that the NRA has already been, in terms of, the organizational leadership of that mentality, that they don't really care about fighting for your rights, robustly. They will do whatever is politically convenient because it's more of a political machine, for funding. And the more battles, the more they can drum up fear to get people's money and not actually meaningfully stand up for anything. So, my 2 cents, and for what I've seen, especially having talked to Alan Gura directly, 10 years ago about this, and, just following it since, and obviously the different issues that have happened there, I just, as much as they have a historical thing and they do a lot of trainings, it's just, to me, they are not the place where you want to put your time and resources if you're looking for people who are actually going to meaningfully sue and stand up, for your rights. You're much better off going with like a local state chapter of some gun rights organization, or if you're doing national something, of course, we would say FPC, is definitely up there, probably number one, but, or SAF GOA, again, all in that genre of people who don't compromise. Those are the people that you really want to see succeed. And, it's just unfortunate that so many people have been beguiled and duped into supporting the NRA just because of the branding and the name recognition.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are starting to wake up and realize that when push comes to shove, they always fold like a cheap suit. So you know what I mean? You need
They
the
are
group that's going to sue on everything.
and they're the most promoted in the mainstream media, like the NRA. Like CNN has even promoted them, like Dana Loesch, even though they held a debate with her after the Parkland shooting, and it seems like antagonizing. The underlying thing is that that's the only gun rights group they invited on, the NRA. Like that's it. Like, can you imagine if they invited like the head of FPC?
Oh my gosh,
They would not. It would just be
roasted.
because he wouldn't say, "Oh, you're just hurting law-abiding citizens." He's like, "No, you're literally sending men with guns to people's doors
Right.
if they don't comply
Mhm.
with your whatever you say is banned, or sending men with guns to businesses if they trade a bump stock or whatever, something that you deem as, you know, only for the military." Like, you know,
Right.
so yeah, it almost seems like intentional. Like, are they just behind the scenes friends? Interesting. You know.
Yeah, I
They
don't
can
think that they're
be
behind the scenes friends per se, but I do think that they are the kind of controlled opposition, right? Like the caricature that they like to repeat to try to, you know, on the gun grabbing side to be like, oh, look, boogeyman NRA. It's like, okay, like what's the scary thing? Oh, they tell people they should have the right to be free to own stuff. Oh, okay. I mean, you know, that's what it
they've
boils
just
down to.
they say they're no compromise, but it's like they've
Oh, they
compromised so many
compromised so many
times.
times.
So
Yeah, Michael Bolden did a good video on that recently, and we had him on talking about that of the 10th Amendment Center, just going over the specifics of the NRA.
yeah,
He might even pop in tonight. We'll see.
basically they're not consistent. They've said some good things in support of gun rights, but they've also compromised and let go and saying like things are okay, you know, and been FUDs themselves. So
Right. And someone said here, oh, you know, it's okay to abide by the law. The law is the Constitution. And it's like, okay, except the Constitution can be amended. So what happens when the Constitution gets amended and guns are banned or the Second Amendment is repealed, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? Those words on paper are not what give you your rights. They don't magically, you know, protect you or shield you. It's only human action that does.
I would say,
so,
to be specific, because what is the law? Like, the law is prescribed by the state, and oftentimes people who are in control of the state don't even follow their own laws that they impose on everybody, you know? So you should ask yourself what laws, if there are to be any, you actually think are justified. And for me, all it comes down to is the non-aggression principle and property rights. Like, that's it. Just don't violate other people. You keep your property. No one, don't steal other people's property, especially not after, like, oh, you make over this certain amount, this arbitrary amount. Well, time to confiscate your money because you're making too much. Like, you know, even that, like, that's it. You don't need to write all of these things. Like, all you need to say is focus on the non-aggression principle. So
yeah, exactly. I
like,
think
if you talk about laws, like, obey the things that you really think are ethical.
Right. Obey principles of reciprocity. That's what I suggest, is that at a bare minimum, you want your consent to be respected. It's logically impossible to want your consent to be violated, right? Because if you want something to happen, then you want it. It's not, your consent's not being violated, right? By virtue of definition. So at a bare minimum, you understand that you want your consent respected and you want to have integrity for your body. You don't want people touching you, doing things to you that you don't want done to it, right? So if you start with these like bare basic ideas about self-ownership and the idea of how you wish to be treated, it becomes very easy to empathize from there and say, okay, what's the bare minimum reciprocity that I want, you know, from other people in terms of consent? And then it starts to make sense. You're like, oh, okay, well, I want my body and my property, my physical things, my home to be, you know, kept from other people messing with it, destroying it, hurting it, damaging it, right? It's that simple.
And then once you have that foundation, you see all these laws that the US federal government has, local governments, state governments have, that are such violations, horrible violations of property rights. You'll see that. Once you have that principle down, then you can apply that lens through everything else and just realize, like, just how much laws are in the book that criminalize you for victimless actions, whether it's smoking marijuana or braiding people's hair and you didn't go to get your occupational license, you know, like in New York or whatever, like, or you want to hire somebody for $7, but the minimum wage is $8. So you're charged as a criminal for that or whatever. You start to realize and realize that the state that we have today, they're not only not protecting people from well, you'll have instances of like agents of the state like afterwards going after someone for a property crime, for actual crime with the victim. But like what you see mostly today is most of the laws that are enforced are victimless actions, which make the state the violent ones. It makes the state the perpetrators in those scenarios. Like no knock raids into a family that is suspected of having marijuana in their basement or something, like in the middle of the night, just like charging to their house, breaking down their doors, destroying their property. And like, that's what you see is what makes up the state today is this coercive, violent monopoly. And the good that they do in some cases, like saving a drowning kid from a pool, like a cop doing that, right? You've heard those stories. They will promote those stories and say, that's it. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
And they cover up all the scary bodies and death trails.
Well,
that
until
left
now,
behind.
until social media emerged, and now instead of like just highlighting the best stories that you might get in a local paper, now they're like, oh, we'll use social media to promote everything we do. And suddenly people are like, oh, wow, the police department's like, stealing people's stuff. And like,
yeah, we talked about that with Jason Bassler, the Free Thought Project, and Police the Police. If you guys want to watch it, it is on YouTube and Facebook, that interview with him. But we were talking about just that very thing, is just utilizing social media and the video capturing software now we have, or devices, and audio capturing. Like now, holding people accountable is possible. Being able to tweet at the CIA or the FBI is possible.
Yeah, you can get yourself on a watch list.
I know, or
as
like
fast as you can type on Twitter.
Yeah, right. And, or like some local like police department, you can, like your local police department, you can say, hey, that was wrong that you like took all this person's property just because you found a little bag of weed or a big bag of weed. Doesn't matter, right?
Or a medium bag of weed.
3 ounces of weed. It shouldn't matter. And that's what we're just trying to expose. And it's pretty cool to live in this time where we have that chance to do it. So thank you, everyone who's been here. Thank you to everyone supported. Somebody wrote earlier, like, happy to have supported the campaign. So thank you. I don't think anyone has guessed a letter, and whoever supported,
there's been like 4 supporters so far, and I don't even know, man. That nobody's come through and said, "Oh, I supported." So I don't know.
You want to guess their letters then?
I might, because it'll be hard to pick out the order here.
Yeah.
But before we get there, since we're on this roll, like talking about principles and the right to bear arms, I would like to emphasize the fact that when it comes to the erosion of the right to bear arms, all of that has stemmed purely that is the American legal history from bigotry. Like, by and large, all of those erosions of fundamental rights have been rooted in collectivism. And it started, of course, with guns being banned for Black people, for African Americans, because they said, oh, well, if they become freemen, what's going to happen? They're going to get guns. They're going to start shooting, plantation owners.
That's one of the things NRA did cover. So kudos for that particular video and the people who wrote it and orchestrated it.
Right.
That they did cover the actual racist history of gun control in America.
Right. And right. So, that root of the history in terms of where gun control was really starting to rise was rooted in that. And then, of course, in the post-Civil War South, then they started to pass all the gun control acts, and they tried to make it prohibitively expensive to get guns by banning, the cheaper guns, the Derringers,
right?
Stuff
and
like that.
Just freed slaves, they're gonna mostly be poor. So if you ban like the cheapest weapons, and you criminalize people who own them, and that's what they did. It was just like, oh, only we need to ban like these cheap weapons because it allows for robbers to easily get a gun. Right? And it's like, actually, it was more used by poor people to defend themselves, because usually criminals have more money than that. I'm pretty sure they've been stealing for a while. If they're like any sort of organized criminal, like they're gonna have machine guns or whatever. The little like Derringers, the two shooters, like pea shooters, like those were cheap guns, and those were banned. And that was specifically to target just freed slaves and people who were poor, and to keep them from being a threat and from defending themselves. So
Yeah, and for example, in New York, even their licensing scheme today was rooted in that racist policy. It was actually originally passed to try to keep, blacks and at the time, poor Irish people in New York from attaining weapons. They were, the local because if they had a May issue where they could choose who gets a weapons permit, then the people who are in power could choose who gets the guns, right? And so, it's been pretty wild how much of those fundamental rights have been eroded on that. And in addition, in other arenas, right? The war on drugs, for example, basically was a pretext to be able to, basically like raid people's homes. Just say, oh, it smells like something in there. Let's go raid it. And John Ehrlichman, who is the Nixon policy advisor, he was the one who announced in a later interview that the whole war on drugs was basically just to go after black people and hippies and people they don't like. And then the rules as relates to drugs, especially up to Gonzalez v. Reich in 2005, was trying to say that the federal government could regulate marijuana and other things because even someone growing in their own home could somehow affect interstate commerce. So the federal government used these things in order to circumvent other rights. They were actually using these kind of exceptions by making exceptions in one arena with property rights in the war on drugs. They were able to take that and leverage it into other arenas, which includes, the right to bear arms. And so that's why it's so important to realize that you can't compromise at all. All property rights have to be maintained with extreme perseverance and extreme caution against anyone who tries to do anything, to remove them. Because once they remove one element, they use the same legal precedent to try to attack other areas. And that's why it's so important. If you can violate
property rights in one area, why can't you do it in another area? What level of consistency do you even have anymore when you violate the principle? That's it. You have no principles to stand on anymore. You can't claim that murder is bad if you excuse murder in certain cases, So
well, yeah, and that's why it's important and why we emphasize so much is that you can't be an effective gun rights advocate. You cannot be an effective gun rights advocate unless you're an effective property rights advocate. There's just no way. You can't have one or the other. If you do not, in every instance, be a property rights absolutist, that is to say, okay, if it's not your stuff, it's not yours to decide what they can do with their own property, their own
body
home,
and your property.
You know what I mean? That's up to them as long as they don't physically infringe on the body and property of others, unless you maintain that stance for all property, even stuff that seems, that could be risky or, that, it's dangerous. They have meth or something, unless you maintain it. And it seems, crazy, like, oh, whatever. But unless you maintain it, it will always be used as a pretext, as has been shown time and again in history, especially in U.S. legal history, as a pretext to go ahead and attack every other fundamental right, because all I have to say is, well, guns are too risky too, right? They're just this boogeyman thing that's going to attack little kids, and there's going to be this mass shootings, just like drugs are scary. So we need to also ban that. It's the same thing. You cannot have one, and not the other when it comes to this type of intervention. It will always bleed over, always has, always will. You have to fight it at every level. There cannot be any excuses. And so that's why we're, taking that message out there.
The state, basically.
Right. The government, or psychologically, the idea of the state, it should not be viewed as something that has the right to tell people how and what they can own in terms of just pure property rights. I'm not talking about infringing, actually attacking someone or destroying your neighbor's home or something. We're saying if someone is otherwise peacefully owning whatever, whatever it is, whether it's, basically, grass or
don't
guns,
let the mafia violate us or violate other people or yourself. No matter at every turn, just call it out for what it is. Violations on you and your body and your property and of those you love. That's it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And just quickly noting here on the campaign, it appears we are up to 19,703 with 197 backers. That's awesome.
Whoa.
We're getting really close to 20,000.
Did we just jump?
We jumped a little bit.
Whoa, cool. You're welcome to guess a letter.
Whoever is guessing. Well, again, anybody? I know. Is there someone going to take credit for that support?
I mean, it's cool. So I think 4 letters now. So whoever supported, you're welcome to say some letters. Guess some letters.
Yeah, I'm not sure if somebody who is here actually supported them.
Awesome. So 2 people. It went from 195 to 197 backers. Cool. So 2 more backers. I'm losing track.
I have not been keeping track to lose track, so I have not lost track.
I think at least 3.
All right. So So Rika says, "I'm with you. No compromise." Exactly. Yeah. You can't. You
That's
just
why
can't
you're
compromise.
a voluntarist or voluntarist.
So, someone asked an interesting question, which I will address. How do you feel about public property rights, like the border wall, roads, and things like that? So, when it comes to this concept of public property, it's a farce, right? There's no such thing truly as public property,
It
right?
itself
It's a lie.
violates property rights because it's usually when you say public, you think it belongs to everybody. No, it belongs to the state. It's
Right.
the state asserting that they have this property. Like you can just go into Area 51. It's not public.
Yeah. It's a lie. It's a
people try
sham.
to say government property is public property. It's like no, it's government property.
Right.
It's the state is using it to your exclusion, and they're requiring you to pay up or have some fee or ask for permission to homestead within their geographical borders. They just plant a stake and they're like, yep, all this lake, all this land, oh, somebody already lives there. No, it's mine, all mine. There's no clearing the land, homesteading, taking it from a state of nature. They just block off a whole, the United States, for example, and say that's ours. And they claim, therefore, not just the property within those borders, but all the bodies within that border too. And they claim to be the owners of all the people in those borders. So that's why I don't like, or that's what I think about the concept of public property. It's more of a farce than true, like, public property. That would be like things that are in the state of nature. Like no one's claimed it yet, but
that still wouldn't be public property because that's actually an oxymoron, because the use of the word property implies ownership and someone who has the ultimate ability to decide what happens on there. So public property really is just an oxymoron. And the reality is that those and whoever is the highest chain of command of power within the state, that person who has the ultimate decision rights is really the true owner, right? So obviously you go to a public park, they say you better get out by sundown. There's licenses, there's permits, there's fees. You can't just walk in the road however you want. They'll throw, they'll arrest you. The public sidewalks, you can't be like, oh, let me set up a hot dog stand. No. So again, it's all a lie, it's all a myth, and it's all a ruse because it's not even possible, right? You can't literally have all these different people use the same piece of property at the same time, right? They're gonna have conflict of interest. If you want to lay down on a towel somewhere and somebody else wants to like cook hot dogs where your towel is, like it's silly. So obviously moving away from that farce would just simply require privatization, as people literally privatize by homesteading. So yeah.
Great question. He said, cool, I'm not alone in thinking it's a logical fallacy.
And someone here also mentioned that full auto was legal until the mobster movies came out of Hollywood. Possibly. I mean, definitely it was the mafia stuff that was as related to the prohibition of alcohol, right? So the government creates the problem by prohibiting alcohol, and now you have all this perverse incentive to, in the black market, use violence to maintain a monopoly on alcohol production, and then you get all these gangs fighting each other for territory, and the government caused the problem, and then they murder people.
Yeah, they pushed a market underground, thereby taking away public accountability. The ability to say out loud, hey, I don't like this company. They gave bad alcohol to me or whatever, or they cheated me. Well, you're a criminal if you have alcohol, right? So you keep those people silent in that regard, Same thing with any drug prohibition is that's what you do. You cause the consumers to be silent because they're scared of being criminalized by the state just for having drugs. So then the people who provide that market good, what if it's a drug, for example, that's in the black market, they don't have the incentive to deliver the best experiences. Not saying all those in the black market are necessarily going to be violent, but you have you give more of an incentive for people who are perverse to be perverse and to get away with it. Because their potential victims will be silent because the victims won't want to say, oh yeah, I got marijuana and yeah, it was really bad. He cheated me. Like you'd be thrown in prison for just having marijuana. So you create those weird incentives, and naturally criminals who want to violate others and get away with it and want to get away with theft, they're going to go to the market where they can most easily do that. Right.
Right.
you don't see them like now in certain states where marijuana is illegal. You don't see those same violent people being like, all right, now I'm going to open up a shop and comply with all these regulations and give the state some money. Like those that want to be violent and then be held accountable for being violent. They wouldn't just be like, okay, time to stop being violent. So, yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
1 second.
Okay, yeah. Several people are saying Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's pretty crazy, right? So, but yeah. So I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, problem, reaction.
Sorry, we just had some impromptu guests.
Yeah,
so.
some.
I don't know what they're doing. They're like throwing money at us. I don't know why.
Cool, thanks. Ooh, some good old coerced fiat.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now we have an in studio audience, I guess.
Oh,
we weren't expecting.
You're welcome to laugh in the background. Oh my god.
Yeah. If you want to, you can come wave on camera if you want to say hi really quick. This is one of the potential actors in the film. He might make an appearance.
Yes.
So
mustache and all. Which role do you think he should?
Yeah. So you'll see him soon in the film. Awesome.
So yeah.
Oh. I see. So they brought in some live I shouldn't say donation,
cool.
live support on the campaign. So
Thank
woo!
you. Awesome.
So that's cool.
Hey, that's
so.
Do you want to guess a letter for Hangman?
We have an in-person Hangman guess. So
this is a Hangman board. So yeah, these are the letters that haven't been guessed. Nothing basically. We've had like several supporters, but no one's just said that they want letters. So feel free.
Okay. So yes. So this will count. We'll give you.
T? You can say.
So yeah, you could say T. All right. T. So the live audience part is in-person live.
So
is doing T.
And then I'll fill in where. And the color scheme is blue and red, like Capsh.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. So now we've increased the diversity of audience to both streamcasting and live studio audience. Woo woo.
All right, we got 1 T.
Cool.
1 T.
Awesome.
Yay. Well, yeah. Yeah, this really feels like a live audience. Thanks for coming over.
Yes, thanks for coming over and supporting, bringing us those wonderful FRNs, those Federal Reserve notes.
Can I redeem this for some gold?
Yeah, we'll redeem it for some gold. Might need that with the coronavirus.
But when they're coming in, I was just talking about how, the state is paint anarchy is chaos. But it's like, look around. This is chaos. Look at these governments throwing people in cages for all these victims.
I thought you were going to say, look at these random people coming inside our apartment unannounced.
No.
This chaos.
Another layer, government itself is chaos, right? If someone takes power, and they take over the rings, right? The Eye of Sauron, whatever. Do you really have much power to stop them? Most people just comply, because it's either comply or die.
Or let die.
Or let die. Or have your freedom taken away and thrown in a cage with other sometimes really violent people.
Mm-hmm.
And just be defenseless against whoever warden or police person that's there, who's there to jail you, and hope that they don't throw you in solitary and deprive you of your senses or hurt you in any way while you're helpless. So yeah. So that's really what I think is chaos. Anarchy, I think, is just the chance at peace. So that's why we overhear.
That's what I like to say. Voluntary is a possibility of peace. The state is the guarantee of the initiation of force.
Yeah. Someone said they also call it utopia in the same sentence.
Right.
Right. That's interesting.
And that's actually a big problem. Is a lot of people confuse, I think, these kind of principles as a utopia. And it's like, no, we're not looking for some type of utopia. Like utopia is someone's imagined idea of like how everybody should live. No, it's just trying to maximize consent, minimize the initiation of force. And, whatever happens stemming from that will be interesting, but it may not be any particular person's like ideal dream world or anything like that. So, I think a lot of people, who are new to these ideas often will mistake it as that and say, "Oh, are you just some utopian?"
Right. And to take it another layer, it's like life itself is chaos. In a lot of ways, like all humans are trying to discover how to survive in the world first and foremost, and things happen that you don't expect, traumatic things, traumas that you didn't want. That's why they become traumas. It was just like, whoa, that was a surprise.
Mm.
And that's the world we live in, and trying to affect and change other human beings' minds, that's a big task. And you could say it's chaotic in that way, or like being afraid of germs or whatever. So yeah.
We're gonna talk to this actor in a second here. So I'm just gonna grab.
We're going to grab a mic for our guest here, who was in the audience,
One of the new guests.
who guessed a T. Anyone else who wants to support, feel free to, if you already contributed to the campaign, feel free to guess a letter. Thank you. And otherwise, if you want to guess a letter and finish this phrase and we can move on to the next one, go ahead and do a super chat or support the campaign as well. Oh, and you can hear the other microphone coming in.
Does it sound all right?
Hello. Oh, you need to give him some headphones.
Oh, yeah. Hold on 1 second. Well, he can hear us. He doesn't need headphones to hear it.
Oh, that's true.
I'm here. It's now. Thanks for having me on board.
Yeah. So who are you?
So my name is Josiah. I
came.
believe in maximizing consent, minimizing violence and force. And I also love movies, especially ones that support the principles of maximizing consent and minimizing violence. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm about it.
Dude, and your shirt. That's another movie, anime. Tell us about that. Is that about maximizing consent, minimizing the initiative? Okay.
Okay. It is really, if you think about it. One Punch Man is about being a hero in a world full of monsters. I mean, what's better than that? But not only that, it's about training to such excellence that you really minimize violence in all self-defense to the point that only one punch is needed to stop any foe. I don't know any other hero who's going to commit to that level of minimization of violence.
And
one punch.
Oh, that's such a good point. You just got to make sure that the One Punch Man is like a voluntarius. And so far he seems to be. He respects the nap. He doesn't knock raid innocent people in their homes for marijuana.
That's true.
No, he goes after actual violent people or monsters.
And in general, he respects people and lets people do as they do unless they're committing acts of violence against other people. And that's why.
Sorry, folks, we're just adjusting, so that's why you can hear all these sounds.
Here, turn this off really quick. Sorry.
I was like, it's like ASMR putting up the mic. It's like.
Sorry, this is all unexpected.
While you're waiting, someone said, "I like your mustache."
Oh. Here,
he says
right here where you want it. 1 second. I'm gonna tighten it. So get it where you want it. This is great. That's great. Okay.
So is your name Joe? Is that what you said?
Josiah.
Oh, Josiah. Nice. I like that.
Nice.
I thought it was Josiah, like Super Saiyan, but okay.
Joe Saiyan.
Yeah, it's Joe Saiyan. Like it's just your average Joe Saiyan. That's it. So yeah, this is one of the actors.
Yeah. So, yeah. We're gonna talk about.
He can do a lot, but that may not be exactly what he's doing. But yeah, So we're excited. Thanks for joining, actor Joe Saiyan or Josiah.
just showing off some jutsu.
I think you can hear him, even though it's distant. Someone says he has a communist microphone. ... Because it's red. Oh my gosh. Okay, you got to tell us about that, Josiah. What do you think of communism? Just
Thank you so much. I've never had such great new names before.
You're welcome.
My name's Josiah Yoshiyahu.
Oh, multiple.
You know, it's just the Hebrew. If you
Oh,
like
cut the
fruits,
mic
which I
off
do,
again.
I hope
I'm
we all
sorry.
do. You know, Benjamin Franklin said, "Beer is proof that God exists and that He loves us," and that's why I drink beer. You know, and so that's an act of faith for me. So,
Okay. All right, are we in?
I think I think
Is this finally tight? Okay.
Yeah, the mic is on
I
again.
wasn't sure if it was red for the coronavirus. If I was the one, if that was for me, I think I made it.
Okay.
Though. We're okay.
Sorry, I was
I'm
not
glad you don't
expecting
have
to do all that.
coronavirus.
I don't. I'm like the opposite. I am the antibody.
All right. So now we have Josiah here, who he is one of our acting specialists. He's had a lot of experience with acting.
I should have some headphones.
I have.
And he has actually been in how many different commercials and things?
I've had about 25 national and regional commercials for major brands, and nothing that you'd know. Oh, hey, that guy. But I've done work consistently, and I've been blessed to be able to act across the country. I've acted New York, Florida, Los Angeles, and just hitting all the coasts. But it feels good to be acting for something that matters, like a project like this.
Exactly.
Ooh, so excited to have you.
So,
and
yeah.
to use your talents, actors for liberty. I
We
mean,
have-
that's a theme.
Different definitely.
Specialists for liberty.
I've been studying multiple roles. I'm ready to portray all character types. There's obviously a strong chance of a need for, I'm guessing, some sort of police actors in this. So this mustache, trained.
There definitely is going to be some type of SWAT police. So, yeah.
My name's Bullet. I'm a motorcycle cop.
Oh, by the way,
I just want to do a job.
By the
I'm
way,
drunk.
you can't hear Josiah, but try to be more center on the mic because it's coming off more on the left. Get it, the left, red.
Here, let me
Okay.
try another.
We'll keep doing it. But the hard thing about this is it looks like I'm a clown who has a clown mouth, and now it's a clown nose. You can't see my face if I speak into the mic. You got to find the right angle.
Here.
Acting's hard, guys. They don't tell you about this in school.
Can you still hear? That's funny.
I'm the world's greatest not mic'd host.
All right.
Someone said, yeah, I pointed out last night that hers was yellow and his was black, and he comes in and messes it up. There wasn't a set of just blacks and yellows. That sounds like I'm saying black people and like Asian people. No, I just mean like that's another way you could take it. Yeah, but they just had like reds and greens and blues too. So guess you gotta represent the ANCOMs and the ANPRIMs and the AN transhumans and cryptos. Oh. See, mine's the only mic that works right now while Jack is getting things set up.
There we go. This might be a better one. We will see.
Do you watch Parks and Recreation at all?
Yeah, in fact, last night we did Pictionary, and one of the words that I had to draw was Parks and Recreation, and I tried to draw him. Oh, I
No
forgot the
way.
mustache. Oh, I drew Ron Swanson, but he just ended up looking like some young anime guy character with no mustache. And then I drew a badge, but I couldn't finish the trees. So people are like, cop.
We'll make them a
So I didn't get that round.
Yes. I'm blue.
Oh, you changed it out
There you
because of the red
Now my
comment?
mic has blue dye, and now my mic
I guess
has
we
blue
made it
dye.
a safe space for ANCAPs. I'm just joking.
That's true.
That's so funny. You changed it to blue.
Or like,
Oh my
No
gosh.
commies here.
Ron Swanson might be a
Guys.
great example of overall, those nonviolent principles and, stopping government. My favorite part of
character, for
Parks and
sure.
Rec is when they're like, "Where's your permit?" And he goes, "Oh, my permit's right here," and it just says on a piece of paper, "I do what I want."
He got a lot of people like status to think about libertarianism and have it resonate with them. I loved it.
Yeah.
Like
He constantly talks about how they're just suckling off the taxpayers' teat, and how it's just a hungry piglet that's screaming off the people. That's all government is. It's really wonderful.
yeah.
It is really wonderful.
You know, I've seen so many memes and gifs. I just gotta watch it. I need to watch it. You know, it's funny. Like more statists have seen that show than I have.
Ron gets asked to potentially be the assistant city manager, and they're like, "So, what are some ideas for innovations?" He's like, "Wait till you hear it. First of all, can we talk about stopping the mail? Let's talk about that's a monopoly. Let's remove that."
Oh, that's so great. I want to watch. I feel like the whole time, like, yes.
Yeah.
Like
The
a
whole time, like,
libertarian,
yes.
Yeah.
represent me in a Hollywood.
Well, that's actually a good point that
Great.
like it's really hard to find shows that even jokingly celebrate, you know, people who are giving those kind of libertarian talking points. And, you know, Ron Swanson was a character that was supposed to be like kind of a mockery of that. But in the end, it was like people actually loved it like this, but, you know, unironically. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So it was actually like, oh, thanks. Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
And
like-
Ron was actually consistent. Like in the show, it doesn't show him as a bad person. He's a good person. And the reason why he
Right.
hates government is because he's perfectly willing to do things for people for free and do it well. And he himself is a tradesman who wants to get paid well because he knows his trade. And there's so many good jokes in the show. Like this one episode where they show a whole floor of a government building and there's all these people who are supposed to be there. Like, oh, we're doing this project. He's like, no, that's a government project that needs 10 people to do the work of one man. I'll be doing this job myself. It's so good. And of course, he's not dumb. He actually, the show, he's like got so much things stored up and he's got multiple investments. It's nice to have a character who, even though at first they try to make him think a little bit of a loon, he's actually one of the most grounded people. He invests in himself and others and has a successful family. So it's nice to have a character change where he's not just some crazy old fool, you know,
right.
looking for a red devil.
Mine is his alcoholism, I guess, but that's forgivable.
Well, as you can see, Josiah does like movies, and he is a bit of an expert. Ask him things related to anime or some movie, and he'll tell you a really deep plot that you didn't notice before.
But more
And
specifically,
perspective.
so you know, obviously, you know, we talked about bringing lots of good talent in on this production. And we talked about David, of course, who's our cinematographer, and he is, you know, well versed in camera work and has shot many different things, including his own short films and commercial works. Could you tell us a little bit there, Josiah, about, you know, the process of acting and what it takes to act? Because, you know, you've done many casting calls and you've, you know, seen many, you know, different types of ways they can ask you questions and pitch things to you. So could you give the audience a little bit about what that's like?
Oh, definitely. Auditioning is so much different than acting itself too, because there's a lot of good actors who aren't good at auditioning, and there's also a lot of good people who audition who end up being crappy actors, right? Because networking relationships are important, and being able to read a room and provide immediate response and changes is really key. You know, you can read a script and get into character, and there's plenty of people who like really care about acting, but at the end of the day, you still have to be able to understand who's making choices and try to match what they're looking for. You know, 90% of a casting decisions is made when you walk in the room, but owning your energy, having positivity, you know, for me, that helped me book a lot of my jobs, because you basically have to show people you're trustworthy to work 8 to 12 hours a day with people, where if one person's emotions are off, it ruins thousands of dollars of shooting.
Right.
So,
yeah, and that's true too here, because we're working, you know, on comparatively a very limited budget compared to what most, you know, major productions do, commercials, and of course, you know, Sandy Hook, Promise, Moms and Man Action. So that's why we wanted to make sure that every person that is working on this, and, you know, everybody that we, you know, either contract with or hire, we want only the people who are most in line with their vision, top-notch talent, and people who can deliver. So that's why we're
Yeah.
glad that Josiah is here to help us
Thank
on
you.
that journey, whether it's, you know, directly acting or possibly in the capacity of, you know, helping us discern who would be best for certain elements of roles. So
yeah. And acting, man, it's a chemistry challenge, because you can be good by your own, but you're playing with people. And so, especially when you're doing a good set.
Oh, you just want to keep.
Oh, thank you. Especially when you're working on set with
Yeah.
people,
Sounds
sorry, I'm just out of the frame. There we go.
Yeah, you can scoot. We can scoot over a little bit.
No, we're good.
You good?
It's all
Okay.
good. When you're acting with people, you're really trying to make other people shine. And a lot of people miss that in acting because they feel like it's a star sport, but it's a team sport. A lot of actors on set are really good, but they're known for being horrible to work with. And that's not what you want to do. I'd rather be a Michael Jordan than a LeBron James. When Michael Jordan played basketball, he made other people look even better than what they were. A lot of people on his team, when they ended up playing with other teams or when Michael Jordan left, they weren't as good anymore, even though they looked like star players when he was playing with them. It's because Michael Jordan wasn't just a star. He was a team player who made other people shine. And with acting, I think that's really key because you want to be able to feed people emotional impulses. So they're playing with you. It's like you want to make it feel like improv. You want to make it feel like everything's off the cuff. But at the same time, you're listening to each other so much. You're trying to softball emotional cues. So you're constantly listening and following. And it feels like so much is happening in such a little time. And that's why it takes, 8 hours to film just a couple of minutes. So it's a delicate balance for acting and filming.
Wait, 8 hours to film. What was that? I'm sorry.
A couple of minutes.
Oh, a couple of minutes. Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what David just said recently. He worked on this one video where there wasn't a lot of acting to it. He had a little sequence that was really hilarious with his wife, but it took him 60 hours to put together a 12-minute video that was, just a little bit of acting, then of course compositing different things. And that's something that we, want to communicate to everybody too.
60 hours, he said, right?
60 hours. Yeah.
60 for 12 minutes.
60 for, yeah. And again, that's actually short compared to if you were doing like a real Hollywood, everything's acted thing.
Right.
But we just like to communicate and help people understand that because some people, they're not into filmmaking. They're not into the world of like acting, other things like that. And so they don't really even understand how much work it takes to build the set, get the team going. And
I know I
get things
did it
looking.
most of my life. I just, like as a more of a consumer of movies most of my life, I was like, why didn't they do this? Or that was cheesy, but I didn't see like the hard work of like putting the lighting, getting it at that angle or at that height or at that speed. Like there's so much work that goes on and so many people orchestrating like one scene.
Yeah. On average, like
So,
it takes
it's cool.
3 hours to start filming. Like that's something I had to learn. Like you go to set, you sit in a chair, you do makeup for an hour.
Right.
You go to set, you look at stuff. They say, cool, stand here, check lighting. You go sit in your room for 30 minutes as they change wardrobes for the next 30 minutes. They bring you back to set. You switch back in with the stand-in. They check things again. They decide to make final changes, and then you film.
Right.
It's like it's so much build up. The famous thing you're going to learn as an actor is hurry up and wait.
Right.
It takes a lot of patience to be an actor because for most things you're doing, there's a spirit of like, you got to move fast because you have so much time and so much money. But at the same time, there's so much waiting and so much changing of things. I've gotten used to like being my own stand-in sometimes because you'd rather have them have the right shot and not have to spend an hour to do something where if you stand in hot lighting, it'll take 30 minutes, but at least you'll get it done.
Right.
So it's funny how even those things you learn, because you have to keep switching people in and out, things are always going to change. So you have to learn to really deal with hot lighting, standing, waiting, and then finally getting things going. And after waiting 3 hours, you still have to have good energy, everything memorized, and be ready to do the scene 10 times in a row.
Right. And exactly. And that's why we're just trying to emphasize to everybody that, again, the more support we can raise to this film, the better we can make it and work with, obviously we want top-notch technology, team, and, set props and items that we need to make it look believable and credible. So again, the better the funding we get here, the more we'll be able to actually do, phenomenal jobs with everything that we do. Of course, we're going to keep quality control up on every single thing. And as I said, we're not going to release anything that would be cringy or that you would be proud of. But the more funding we have, the more we can do, the longer shoots we can do, the more videos we can produce. And so just on that note.
On that note, let's see where we're at.
Let's just take a look where we're
really
at.
close to 20,000.
Oh, wow.
We're at, we're refreshing.
So refreshing, so we're at $19,858 and 198 backers. Wow.
So we're super
Wow.
close. Anyone who wants to go to the range or dinner day with us, there's a couples package. You can also get a Red Flag Reality Film patch if you want. You can also just support without choosing a perk, but we have perks there as well for you. So yeah, check it out and let's make this awesome. Let's fight back against the people who have like millions of dollars at their disposal to like make these horrible conflated films that demonize gun owners. Like I'm just so tired of it. And we're humbly trying to just get to 50,000.
Did you do humbly?
Humbly.
Humbly.
Oh, I thought you said humpily.
Humbly.
Like humbly? I'm like, what?
Like we're humbly
humping?
trying to get
Do the
to
hump,
50.
humbly.
I guess we're
Do the
humping the
hump, the
way,
hump.
but humbly trying try to
Humbly.
get to
Stay humble.
We're
50,000.
staying humble.
So yeah, anyway, everything that they're saying, we're maximizing, you could say, consent.
Yes.
And because all our actors will consent.
Yeah, there will be no forced acting.
No forced acting.
No forced
Well, I
acting.
mean, speak for yourself, Josiah.
Oh,
But
it's
I
be
think
really
it's
great. We're gonna be like,
voluntary.
like an actor's be like, stop forcing it. Make it natural.
Yeah.
Consent yourself right now.
Yeah.
Make the scene consent. Stop forcing the scene. It's garbage.
Well, yeah, we're not going to be those kind of producers here.
No, not at all.
We're gonna be.
No
that's
trying.
just what I came
No
from
trying.
in
Yeah.
Los Angeles. They're like, you, and you, go home, go to bed, and never wake up. I'll see you tomorrow. And you're like, did I get the job? I don't understand. Did I?
Some shame.
What do I do?
Lots of
Oh, yeah.
shame in
Los Angeles
Hollywood,
is the type
lots
of place that makes you
commands.
feel bad about yourself and gives you the job, or it makes you feel really good about yourself, and turns out you didn't get it. I've had so many friends get real agents, and they're like, "Oh, we have this meeting. We want to meet with you. We meet with you. Okay, great. Send us your headshots. Let's get you signed up." And then they ghost you.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you have us meet with you in person and have us send over formal documents if you didn't want to do this? You're just wasting everyone's time. But that's the industry, and thanks to Jack and Pho, this movie is going to break the industry cycle and treat actors awesomely and make a quality product that means something.
That's
Movies
right.
with a
Hey,
message.
modern Renaissance
Actors will get
exactly.
at least one bag of pretzels. They will not starve.
At least
No.
one. They will have at least one bag of Red Vines or Twizzlers, depending on what coast that it's filmed in.
And 1 cup of water, just 1 cup.
Just 1 cup.
Maybe 2 cups
maybe
if
2
we're feeling good.
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
Small Snack gave a super chat. I love your avatar. You can also guess a letter.
Yeah, Small Snack,
So-
you can guess a letter. So we are still playing Hangman. So
We are.
Small Snack says, do things need to collapse into chaos before they can get better? Is that always true? Might there be a way of being that can prevent tragedy and renew society simultaneously? Great
definitely think
questions.
so. Yeah, good question.
Great questions. This is all speculation, of course, because we have no idea for sure of anything of the future because we can't control for multiple universes. But at least on the principle, the theoretical principle, if you change enough minds, right, then
And
there
no one
could
knows
be
the
change.
future. So.
Right. So, you change enough minds and then all of a sudden an asteroid hits, right? But I mean, again, just by virtue of principle, virtue of people adopting these things, if there is a shift in a change of minds toward voluntarism, yes, that absolutely could be, shifted toward peace without there being chaos or lots of violence. But again, looking at things in the United States, things are gonna be heading in not that great a direction, no matter what way you cut
And
it.
we have to remember, it's chaotic for some people. For some individuals
Mhm.
who are in prison, for some people who have their homes raided, it's chaotic for them. So, I mean, technically, things haven't collapsed into chaos for all. But for some, it really has already, where the state
Mhm.
literally ruins their life and they're in prison forever or whatever.
Or if you're in the Middle
Ross
East,
Ulbricht.
right? If you're in the Middle East getting bombed, it's pretty chaotic for you to be a Syrian
Yeah.
or to be an Iraqi or to be in Afghanistan, right? So it's all
So
relative
the chaos
location.
is here, right?
Yeah.
So compared to what?
Yeah.
Compared to what? Well,
Right.
chaos is already here for a lot of people, and
But we hope to try to change enough
Insidiously for
minds
all.
that, as far as that's concerned, that maybe there could be a remnant of people who try to build something more peaceful despite the chaos of the state, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the real goal.
Now, I'd
So-
also like to say, Small Snake, I like your name. I also like your face. I'd like to make it for you, like the way I make it the whole time.
That actually is pretty accurate.
wow,
See,
that
that's
helps. Your mustache
Top
emphasizes it too.
notch actor.
I can tell.
Here,
I can feel your
hold
energy,
it
Small
to you
Snake.
so he can be more sad.
And things are okay. I want you to know that things don't need to collapse into chaos before they can get better, because sometimes
But they just did.
you can have an injury that's small that lets you know of future injury and you can stop it. Sometimes you have a small ache in your back and you're like, whoa, I'm not going to do that anymore, so I don't pull my back. In the same way, us together as people can use these small pains right now, even if we're not in direct conflict, and use it as motivation to stop the greater pain of violence. So I do not
Well
think they
said.
need to collapse. We can get better right now if we choose to mobilize our body in pain, use the pain to push us forward instead of stopping us.
See, and that's
Do you have more
not just
room,
an
by the
act
way, so
there.
you can
That
scoot closer
that
if
is
you
not
want?
just an act in what he just said.
That's true.
He can act, but he chooses not to. for you for this moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually just the
Perfect.
story of
Is
how
that
I
better?
recovered from my back injury.
That sounds better too. You're more centered.
Oh, there it
now.
is.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I had a back injury, and at first I thought that means I can't move, but turns out sometimes pains mean you need to move those areas. They need circulation, and they're having a nerve impingement, which means you got to move the nerve, right? So I think in the same way we can take that with us at large and fix the violent problems we have with people at large by showing them, hey, there's a different way. Look at how we
Exactly.
move.
I think what you're speaking to is like something that we always advocate for is like live your values. If you advocate for freedom, if you advocate for nonviolence, don't beat your wife. Don't spank your kids. Don't beat your kids. Don't be coercive yourself and authoritarian yourself, unless it's consensual, like in the bed sheets or something.
Just-
But
Well,
you
that
know what
wouldn't
I
be
mean.
Guys,
authoritarian. if
Don't
it's
beat your
consensual.
kids.
I know you're
You
right.
should beat
you're
your meat.
right. There's just a
And
meme about
you
it.
shouldn't spank your wife. You should have your wife spank you.
Oh my gosh.
And that's
But
the
it
way
also-
the ball rolls.
Assuming consent, yes.
But you know what I
Yes.
mean, like that's how you spread it. If people see you living consistently with your values, they're more likely to want to adopt your values and see like, oh, look, that's they have a peaceful relationship, they have a family with peaceful kids, their kids look actually really happy and don't seem afraid of their parents, they seem like loved by them and secure and like strong.
Yeah.
Like if they see that, you can motivate other people to try to seek something better, a more peaceful way of life.
Right.
But definitely live your values. And if you see any contradictions with what you say your values are, like if you're libertarian, a voluntarist, but you excuse, spanking your child, really think through why you have that contradiction, why you say you value nonviolence, but you're willing to initiate violence, in this example, against the most weakest among us, the most helpless among us, children. So,
Well, for me, like what I see, what I mean, as someone who, came from that background, is that it's very easy and comfortable to go with what you know. You're like, I experienced this, I came up okay, right? You know, it's fine. So it's very
And
easy
excuse
to excuse it and think of it as something that, oh, well, this is just normal and this is the only way. But a big part of coming out of that, and it was definitely a big part for me, was the idea that you have a toolbox proverbially of how you can interact with people and ways that you can change or help change how you treat somebody else. And so for a lot of people, it's just a matter of, yes, that's what that's what you're comfortable with, that's what you grew up with, but there are tools that you can put in your toolkit that are way better in terms of both ethically and effectively helping young, small, helpless human beings learn how to respect others and respect property and things like that. And so for me, that's what I like to kind of view it from, is this idea that, yes, it's okay. It's understandable that you didn't know better, that, this was your inclination.
Right. It's not about shaming your past self. It's about taking a moment to analyze and think through why you were the way that you are. It's without shame, without labels, without judgments, just answer as specifically and clearly why you had that motivation in the past and why you excused it.
And then you think, can you do 100 push-ups a day? Can you do 100 sit-ups a day? Can you do 100 squats a day? And you stop trying to attack other people and you start working on yourself. And all of a sudden you're a hero who can punch people with one punch. Stops anybody.
Oh, right. That's the one punch workout.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we have 199 backers now. So we have another one.
We know the sport. And Small Snick, you still have the chance to pick a letter. So Small Snick. You can come in with a letter for this hangman. And whoever just supported, which I don't know, I'd have to look. But again, if you just supported, you're welcome to pick a letter for the hangman. So
it shows in the recipient name, but not the sender. YouTube is weird.
So, it's something that obviously you're welcome to participate in, but you're not forced to participate in. So if you want to play hangman, you can, but your consent is respected. So
we got one laugh from the audience, folks.
I get the one.
We're doing good. We're doing good.
They don't want to consent to stick violence.
Yeah.
I want to thank our audience for being our first live audience. You're awesome. You're beautiful. You're free.
Yes.
To take a quote from The Conscious Resistance.
Yes.
I love that line.
And we consent to laughter.
Oh, here we go. So we got somebody. Modern Renaissance Man. Letters Q. There we go.
Okay,
Thank you for your service.
Yes, Modern Renaissance Man.
All right. Finally,
Q is not a
Q
letter.
for QAnon. No, just kidding.
Yeah, Q is not a letter. So I'm gonna
He's got a face.
I'm gonna stick his head to the pike, I guess, because that's
What do you mean Q's not a letter?
it's not a letter of dish.
Oh, sorry. I was like,
oh, I mean it
I
is
was
a
like,
letter.
Wait a second. I'm
it's
sure
not male or
it's
female.
one of those in the
It's not
20
male or
of the
female. It's
alphabet.
not a
What do
letter.
you mean it's a letter?
It doesn't identify as a letter, guys.
My gosh.
Stop
Last time I
triggering
checked, Q
Q.
identified as a consonant. You fools.
My God. His
Oh,
acting
man.
skills are just unparalleled. My God.
One of my favorites
On the next
is
episode of
the pretentious illiterate. That's funny, Jack, because I don't know how to read.
How many roles could we fit him in for? We will find out.
What's that?
There's at least 2 we're thinking of. So, but yeah, we've already been doing a little casting behind the scenes, thinking about things, because David's working with us on the casting, of course, because some of the scenes that we may shoot would be in a faraway land, in the mountains. And so we'll need some local casting talent, but there's some things we're also going to be shooting locally. And so, we got to have talent of all places and all faces everywhere ready to go for the red flag reality. Okay, Modern Renaissance Man says S for spanking.
He said, okay, how S for spanking? I don't know if he meant to say it like that, but that's how it came out.
Spank you very much.
Okay, S. All right,
S for spanking.
So
is for spanking. It's
And
good enough
S
for me.
is one of the letters. So let me flip
Spanking
that.
with consent. There's a big difference.
Did you know you can always thank someone with a spank if there's consent?
That's true. That pretty much goes for almost everything you can possibly imagine.
You're just like, hey, good job, team.
I
Right.
meant to put that in red, but I
Although,
put
isn't
in
it true in
blue.
Hollywood that happened
It's an
all the
S.
time with or without your consent?
The problem is that in Hollywood, even if you do a bad job, they still give it to you.
I mean, it's kind of funny because, obviously we've had some issues here. When we say we, I mean the entire United States at this point, with, Epstein and Weinstein and all these different, emerging awarenesses of all these rapey people. Could you tell us a little bit about Los Angeles, Hollywood, your acting things there? Did you personally feel touched by this issue?
I actually did experience Hollywood dysfunctional abuse culture. When I first moved over there, I met a guy who was supposed to be producing something for a Spanish channel, of which I won't name names to
Yes.
protect myself.
Right.
Go
Don't get
figure,
suicided.
Now it's real, right?
Don't get
Oh.
suicided.
But basically, I was meeting him. We discussed a bunch of scripts, and then after talking for a few hours, he invited me back to his place, which you may be like, oh, that's interesting. But at the time, his daughter was home, and we had talked for over 3 hours and had connected, and I'd looked at scripts. So it just seemed like a normal thing to do, especially in Los Angeles. It's pretty common.
It just seemed like bros. Like, oh,
Yeah.
thanks, bro. Come on over.
But he tried to get handsy, and then I got uncomfortable. The thing is, when you're in those moments, I really sympathize for so many women because I'm a trained martial artist. I know boxing, kickboxing. I'm trained in weightlifting, but the power is shifted. You don't expect it to happen, and you feel confused. You feel like you did something wrong. So I actually said, hey, I'm sorry. I should get out of here. And I apologized and left, even though he was the one not being professional. And so Los Angeles really preys on new people and all businesses. A lot of their businesses, not just acting, not just music, talking about real estate, talking about finance, is based on predatory models, like people actually preying on people and taking advantage of people. It's very difficult to have consistency in almost any relationship in Los Angeles because everyone's always waiting for the next thing that'll make them famous. They don't really care about each other because everyone's waiting to see who's going to pop first to ride their coattails while, trying to think that they're the ones who are going to do it. So it's definitely very real. And the leadership within most of Hollywood is still built this way. Anyone who pretty much makes it has already had to do something sexual to get their way in because everyone does it. No one talks about it. And I've had friends even trying to get like modeling contracts where the guys are like, okay, great. You don't have to do anything gay. I'll go down on you. And then you'll have the
Wow.
contract. And that happened with a personal friend of mine who was about to
gosh.
sign an $80,000 modeling contract.
Right.
Oh, and
So-
when you're desperate and you're trying
Yeah.
to find a job, they hang whatever 80,000, 100,000 more in
Yeah.
front of your face, and you're already starving, right? Like starving
Right.
artists, starving actors. There you go.
Yeah.
Just
And so many
some
people
people-
already, who
yeah.
are artists have brokenness, which is why they're trying to
Right.
shine or why they have art.
right.
The kinks become beautiful, even though there's brokenness at the center. And there's entire casting processes which focus on these new people who will be, okay, I need you to kiss this person for the role. Oh, actually, how about you kiss me? Like, it's crazy how people are
Yeah.
able to get tricked into dropping their physical boundaries
Wow.
so quickly. And
Seems like
even-
there's a big network as well that like the market of Hollywood in LA is already monopolized to an extent. In that the people who have the producers with the most power, the most money already have all the connections with the different actors and other producers that, like, in order to make it to the award shows, you need to get to know those people. And oftentimes getting to know those entrenched Hollywood people, you get to see some of the dark sides of Hollywood.
yeah.
And you're like, oh,
I would never send a child to Hollywood, because unless you're going to be a parent 24/7, like, one of my favorite things, you should just look up Elijah Wood's testimonies,
Oh yeah.
because he talks about how, like, he was protected, thankfully, but the only reason why is because his mom literally refused to leave him.
Wow.
Like, he said he saw other kids on set and other adults would just, like, lead them other places.
Oh my
And
god.
it's
Horrible.
horrifying, the things that happen to children in Hollywood. There's a story about basically this young girl who was doing stunts, and the stunt guy took advantage of her. And then when she told the producers, the stunt guy came back to set the next day. He wasn't in trouble. He was doing stunts, and he dropped her from her rappelling, and she, like, broke her leg.
Whoa.
And she didn't get justice till years later. So
Wow,
it's
that's
it's
so
really
evil.
heartbreaking, because how
That's
much
horrible.
there's so much success, and the people are all in it together.
so
So
corrupt.
justice is very difficult to get for all these people.
Would you
Yeah.
say that in Hollywood and LA, is it important to both hide your kids and hide your wife because they're raping everybody up in there?
Hide your kids, hide your wives, and hide your butthole, because they
Yeah.
gonna start with you first.
I think that's a really good point. Buttholes, you need to hide those.
For real.
So
But in
Yeah.
Hollywood, like,
Well,
here's the scary thing is, like, any person you
Okay.
think of,
Mm-hmm.
like, usually the more masculine the male, the more likely they've had to do stuff.
Ooh, scary.
A lot of the actors, and it's funny, we look at them in movie roles and we're like,
Mhm.
they're so tough. But then you look at them as people and you're like, oh, they're classically trained in theater, they do ballet, and they sing, dance, and act, and they play these tough guy roles. But you're like, oh, you guys are all gay, which is totally cool.
Mm.
Being a homosexual or heterosexual, consent, you're good to go. But in Hollywood, they basically use that as, like, what's the term?
A bargaining chip?
Casual. It's casual sex society.
Mm.
You have to have loose morals. Everyone's drinking. Everyone's kind of hooking up. It's cool. You're going with it. Like,
Mm.
some of the toughest guys you think in Hollywood all had to do some of the most humbling. I should actually say embarrassing, because it's not humbling. Humbling requires character. So I think it'd be debasing, demeaning things you have to do to get work.
Well, we're not going to do any of those things for any of the actors.
yeah, this is a different kind of
on Red Flag
Hollywood.
Reality.
It's like
It's-
Hollywood for
We're gonna expose
liberty
it.
and for
Yeah.
nonviolence.
We ain't like that here. We're the good
Oh, man.
producers. We're not the bad producers.
But you wouldn't believe it, though. Like, there's so many casting calls that you basically still have to report same day. Like, people do photo shoots. Like, oh, we're gonna do an exchange. I need new pictures. I need new actors. And then there's like, oh, you're here. Hey, take off more clothes. Hey, take off more clothes.
Right.
And it happens.
And we have to recognize, like, this is, this kind of depravity. This is why we don't want to just give a group of people this ultimate power and this monopoly on violence. Like, why would you want to allow people who are already willing to violate people to get them to no longer see a boundary between their own body and others, and get them to be desensitized from having sovereignty over their bodies? Why would you create an apparatus for them to take over? Like, these people in Hollywood, they're the ones funding the most statist politicians in California. They're the ones, like, behind some of the most, like, restrictive legislation, and it's in order to keep out competition. It's in order to keep their monopolies over the land in Cali and the people within it. So
And really quick here, Small Snick says that he's picking C, and he hopes
Awesome.
/ prays that you guys can discover some unknown strength that'll carry through whatever tragedy may befall this world. Yes, We
Thank
agree
you,
because the
that's really
tragedy
kind.
is coming fast. The red flag reality is coming, and that's why we're here trying to fight it because we see that as
I think that goes to everybody. What
one
you
of the
said.
biggest threats you can possibly imagine against people who have a meaningful chance at defending themselves and others. Because again, the people who are actually armed are the ones who would be most likely to be able to push back against, mass rounding up people or forcible quarantines or whatever kind of tyranny. Again, those are the people who have the last stand against any type of tyranny. So we're
All right,
hoping to
two
fight back.
C's. Yeah, exactly. We're
Nicely
hoping
done,
to fight
Small
back.
Snake.
So
And-
thanks, Small
Nicely done.
Snake.
Okay, I have another letter Z. So Modern Renaissance Man in the
Z,
support with the Z.
No Z's.
No ZZ. All right.
Yeah, and so the good news is making movies is warfare. When
Mhm.
you're dealing with a huge organization that's trying to create content that's subliminally telling people to be more violent and be more violently sexual and to not respect the rights of other people and children, movies become the ultimate sword to combat darkness. And so I love that you guys are making content that's bringing awareness and is still going to be bringing entertainment. And
Mhm.
I wish
can't
we
wait to
could
see
do
what we
more.
can do against the mainstream Hollywood business.
Definitely. We're doing PSAs. That's like the first level. Like, what if we could make a whole Hollywood film that's in promotion? Like, what if Voluntarious Origins, the first film,
Yeah.
or a cartoon or anime? Like, I would love to see that, be spread into the collective consciousness and
Yeah.
the culture,
Right.
Instead of, what Josiah is speaking to, just like desensitizing people to extreme violence. Also to get people to not honor their word, not honor their commitments. Like, for example, promiscuity is heavily promoted in Hollywood. You made a commitment to somebody. It's okay if you just one night you just get super drunk and you do it with somebody behind their back, whatever. Like
Right.
they really perpetuate that sort of culture and
Right.
yeah.
I think Sigmund Freud said it was going to be the opening of the age of narcissism. And so I'm excited because right now I think we're ending the age of narcissism and beginning the age of heroes. That the only thing to end the age of narcissistic, violence and sexual violence is to have people who stand up and say, I stand in the opposite. I stand for the voice of the fatherless and the children. I stand for nonviolence and I'm willing to defend myself and others for it. It's the age of heroes and it's an amazing age to be a part and to be alive in.
Yeah.
I like that. That's
And at
well
least if we
said.
get, clapped, we'll look cool doing it.
Costumes.
That's an interesting thing. I didn't think of it, can have it conceptualized in that way, like the age of narcissism, like in that, to me, what that speaks to is how like radio and TV used to be so monopolized. Like there were so many barriers to entry to getting your voice out there. But with the rise of the internet, really having decentralized people or like have the technology and means of making a video and publishing your video on YouTube. Like that's what made YouTube so awesome in the past, is just like giving a platform for anybody to make a video of themselves and share their ideas, like literally anybody. And I like that idea of like age of heroes when it arises from, you could say, property rights and decentralization of power. So
you want all these things and you think you're so powerful. Okay. Okay. And that's why One Punch Man is the best.
Oh my goodness.
Because no matter what speech the violent, the offender, the overtly sexual says, One Punch Man simply says, no. Boom.
Yes. We're going to one punch the gun grabbers for sure.
These movies are going to one punch.
Small Snack again. He says,
I would love an ANCAP protagonist that never once states his beliefs, but only demonstrates them fully in an increasingly difficult journey. I like that. I come close to voluntarist. I mean, but they definitely say at some point they have discussions about philosophy. So I'm sorry, I've let you down.
Small snakes, no.
What can I do? I tried my best. But speaking of trying bests and things like that, we're actually just wanting to remind everybody that at 7:30, we're going to be bringing on Brandon of Agorist Nexus to talk about his work and talk about what he's doing for Liberty with his different brands and his organizations. So again, if you are here or coming back, come on by at 7:30, which is not too far from now. What, it's like almost 15-ish minutes.
Yeah.
I
I guess we'll
is it
take a break from
no, wait, a
our.
little bit longer. 22
Are we
minutes.
going to be taking a break? Is that what I
Yeah,
sense?
I think we're gonna just take a quick break here.
Bathroom break.
Yeah, bathroom break. And
it
then we're
has
gonna
been a
come
nice
back.
2 hours. It's been super fun.
Yeah,
Small Snick, nice to meet you.
I like you, Small Snake. You
Yeah.
care.
I like your name and you care. I like your commentary and your questions. You're awesome. Thank you, everyone else who's here. Travis, Rika, Modern Renaissance Man.
Modern
Essential
Renaissance Man on the
Freedom.
letters, without a doubt.
You guys
Z
are
for
great.
Zora.
We'll see you at 7:30.
yep. We'll be back
with
at
Agorist
7:30.
Nexus.
Bye, guys.
All right. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Talk soon. Bye.